Hello and welcome back to the Let's Talk Horse Business podcast. With me, your host, George, and on today's show, we're going to be speaking to Danielle Curzon. I'm super excited to be bringing Danielle to the show today because, quite frankly, she is an inspiration. Riding in the virtuous Para Champions, internationally, and competing successfully nationally too, Danielle shows an absolute blinder of a story from someone who has come from struggling times, health issues, and a whole host of different careers, coming back full of life and well again. Please sit back and enjoy the show as we dive into somebody who really is rather unique. Danielle, thank you for joining us on the show. No, thank you for being here. So, would you mind just letting the audience know who you are and what you do?
My name's Danielle. I started in horses from a very young age. I started county level showing at the age of 3. I was lucky enough to have a great team of ponies supported by my mum and dad. I won Horse of the Year show at Wembley Arena when I was 9. M&M working hunter pony with Bengad Duranta. Then I continued my showing journey. I won the Royal International and many championships at Ponies UK and BSPS.
Well, there's a lot of horse shows in there.
Yes, a lot of horse shows. I also went out to America to Ocala and competed and won at the Ocala Hits Winter Circuits, which was a great experience. I concentrated more on dressage from 12, 13, training with the late Dominique Morgan, the late Laura Fry, Vicky Thompson, and Ian Woodhead. I did a couple of smaller internationals as a U21 rider. I retired from horses for the first time in 2004. I then took up a career in security.
Okay.
I was a door supervisor, a bouncer.
Yeah.
I trained in close protection and I was personal bodyguard to Emma Watson when she was in Harry Potter.
Oh, wow.
And I looked after other celebs like Jodie Kidd and things like that. I was also an SIA trainer, so I trained bodyguards as well and door supervisors. I then ran alongside that a martial arts career. So I was double silver medalist at the World Kickboxing Championships, and then I changed to cage fighting.
Wow.
And I became Europe's first televised female cage fighting referee on UCMMA on Sky Sports.
Wow.
And I got licensed by the United States Athletic Commission, and I refereed out in the States as well. I was also a handcuff trainer, and I was also a conflict management and control and restraint trainer for, I worked as a subcontractor for the NHS, where we trained and signed off the staff that were working in high secure units.
Okay.
So I did that, and unfortunately my health started. I had childhood epilepsy, so I was told I'd have effects later on in life, and I ended up with chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, stress-related tachycardia, anaphylaxis and things like that. So my health started declining.
I'm just quickly interested to ask, just for the audience's point of view, you came out of horses in 2004. Just going back a few steps. What brought that on?
I got bored.
Okay.
When the day I woke up and thought, I don't want to do this anymore because I'm highly competitive. I had undiagnosed autism at this time. So I knew that when I started to not want to do something, it was time to knock it on the head.
Okay.
Martial arts had always been my second sport. I'd always enjoyed fighting.
We'll sit back over here, I think.
I'm nice now. And then obviously with the undiagnosed autism, I then had to do the martial arts to the nth degree as well, because I actually didn't get diagnosed with autism until 2022.
Wow.
So when I had the decline in my health, it was very difficult from going from somebody that could work all the hours God sends to not being able to do as much. And that did take its toll on my mental health. But I was always trying to find ways around it. But unfortunately, I had a massive reaction to a lidocaine infusion and I nearly died under pharmaceutical meds. So I had a resting heart rate of over 200. So I then had a heart monitor put in and I couldn't eat normal food. So from 2017, I've used a therapeutic source of nutrition called isogenics. Now, I have to make it clear it doesn't diagnose, treat, or sort of deal with medical conditions, but my doctor actually recommended it as a last sort of ditch attempt before a feeding tube was put in.
Wow.
And obviously, if I had a feeding tube, my standard of life would go down even more. So it saved me from that. And the isogenics to this day is what keeps me up and about. But then in 2022, in March, I had a stroke.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know what was happening at the time. I just rang the doctor and said, I've lost the feeling down my right side. I didn't really think anything of it. Anyway, blues and twos came out, and I wasn't able to have the stroke cocktail injection because of my allergies to pharmaceuticals. So it was quite worrying. And unfortunately, I didn't get the neurophysio I needed, which left me with a deficit in my right shoulder.
Okay.
So I have lost 30% of my right side.
Okay.
But I worked really hard to sort of get that back. But at the end of 2022, my mental health was in a really bad place. So I went out to Malta for 3 months and I helped the Prime Minister's daughter with her riding.
Okay.
And I fell in love with a beautiful, beautiful warm blood stallion called Pleasureland AM. And he was actually gifted to me.
Oh, wow.
So I brought him back with myself at the end of 2022. And I was also diagnosed while I was over in Malta, not by Maltese, by English people, but through a Zoom thing. And that's when my equestrian journey started again. So I based myself with a trainer at a competition centre. I put an advert out for another horse as well because my stallion had had previous injuries. And I was so, so lucky to get the Quake Studs Dizzy Rascal. That's a beautiful, beautiful chestnut mare by DiMaggio Cross Beertop. And Vicky from the Quake Studs said, you can have her as long as she's happy, you can have her on loan and do what you want. And she's the best owner ever. And Dizzy was bred by Sandy Senior, and Vicky bought her as a foal. And then we started our para journey, but it's a different para. It's coming into BD, but our version of British Dressage is Sports Excel UK.
Okay.
Because my category is II3, which is for riders with autism.
Okay.
And the equivalent of our FEI is Virtus Sports. So they deal with all the intellectual impairment paras.
Okay.
So it wasn't very well sort of heard of. And I actually fell across it on Facebook. I think a lady called Emma Bayliss from British Dressage had actually shared it. So I went down classification, which took a long time, 9-10 months.
Oh, wow.
And then last year, literally 3 days before the BD Parachamps that were holding the Virtus classes, I got a phone call from Sports Excel UK. They said, your national classification is through. I've cleared it with Amanda Rogers. Get an entry in and get yourself to Hartbury. So I had 72 hours to get to Hartbury with Dizzy Rascal.
Oh, wow.
And we won the national championships, which was fab.
How did that feel?
Really good, because when we got down there was still the question of the Virtus classes. They're the FEI Paratests. I do the grade 4, which are normally in a 20 by 60. But in the Virtus classes, you take out the first hole and it's done in a 20 by 40.
Right.
So like 20 minutes before the class started, we still didn't know what size arena it was going to be done in.
Oh, right. Wow.
So it was my actual first time that I've ever ridden a para test. So I am trained to Grand Prix and competed to advanced in British Dressage, and obviously the grade 4 paras is sort of an easier test, but I never competed it.
Okay, yeah.
So we went in with really no expectations. So to win with 74% was great.
Oh, yeah, wow.
And that was under the FEI 5-star Paralympic judge Sarah Leach.
Okay.
She judged at Paris.
Yeah.
So that was fantastic. And then I had to wait till October to get my Virtus Overstamp, which is the international classification.
Okay.
And then I got like another 3 days warning from Sports Excel UK. Your international overstamps come. You need to do these video competitions. They're international. That's judged by FEI 5-stars as well.
Okay.
And these video competitions are your qualification for the in-person World Championships at Sparshol in July 25.
Right. Okay.
So I was like, okay, still didn't really know what I was doing. And Dizzy Rascal again won both of her October video comps.
Wow.
With 74% and 75.75. And it was a great feeling because we beat Australia, we beat America, and it was a great experience. And then I thought, right, well, I'm going to use my other horses because I've got 4 stunning horses. I'm very lucky. So in the next video competition, I rode Tysilio Awa, Hank,
Hank,
who is a Welsh Section D, Hank the Tank. And he's one that I've fallen in love with. He belongs to my mum, Karen Curzon, and he's actually my daughter's pony.
Right.
But she's busy with her GCSEs. I fell in love with him, and he became a world champion as well. So I was like really quite shocked at that. And then also in the February video round this year, I rode Castle Surprise, who belongs to some very good friends, Jan and Al. He's rising 6. So he's in his first year of being allowed to do these things.
Yeah.
And he got, I think it was 4th with 69.5, which at an international level still is fabulous. But he's a very big horse by Locarno 62 Cross Arco. His breeder, Jane Hopkinson, is very pleased with him. But he was obviously bred as a jumper, but he prefers dressage. And I've just competed Pleasureland AM in our final selection trial. And also Dizzy Rascals. So we're just waiting for the results of that. So that's kind of where I am at the minute.
Yeah, there's a lot in there, a lot to unpack. You've certainly had a colourful career, haven't you? From working in the police to handcuff training,
Well, I worked alongside the police.
Sorry,
I wasn't
alongside.
actually. Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, but still, very much. You haven't just been horses.
No.
It's fair to say you've had your horses. You've gone and done another career, another life, and then you're back with the horses now, really.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned you got back into the horses later. Talk to me about that journey. What brought you to going back into horses?
I think when I went out to Malta, I kind of lost my way a little bit because obviously after the stroke and my right side being deficited, it, and also the tiredness, it left me with hemiplegic migraines. So obviously I don't drive when I'm not feeling very well. So, I have to have a really good support team around me. And that I think was hard to get my head round. So when I went out to Malta, getting back involved in the horses, it was only meant to be something to do whilst I was out there to sort of rehabilitate my mind as well. But when the first time I saw Pleasureland AM play, it does make me tear up now because he walked into the arena and I looked at him and I was like, oh my goodness, what is that horse? And I spoke to the owner and I was like, your horse is just the most beautiful animal I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, well, actually, Danny, I'm not really getting on with him. He's not really doing the job that I want because he wanted to jump more. And he's a grandson of For Pleasure. So he's got very good jumping lines, and he had a 1-star record, but he did have an old injury. He said, and I just don't really get on with him. I love him. But so anyway, I started spending time with him in his stable and he rehabilitated me. I couldn't even lift my right arm to put a head collar on.
Wow.
And so from going from somebody that was so fit and able to not be able to do that and trying to tack up was a nightmare. Had to stand on something to lift a saddle up. And he just spent hours letting me do that. So I just had to bring him back, and he was gifted to me by Claudio. And I think it was one of the best gifts that I've ever been given.
Oh, wow.
And then when I came back to the UK, I was struggling with my saddle and I was like, I'm not comfortable. I can't even remember what type I had. So I contacted Voltaire Design. Because their saddles are lightweight. And I just explained the situation, said, I'm starting to get the competition bug back. I'm autistic, so I struggle with texture. I can't have a heavy saddle because I still can't lift it. So anyway, Louis Horn came out from Voltaire. I tried the Voltaire Adelaide and myself and Play absolutely fell in love. And I said, look, Louis, they are super expensive. I'm starting back out. Is there any chance of sponsorship? I want to be back representing Great Britain and I need some help, because financially it's tough nowadays.
It's very tough.
And so Louis was like, the Voltaire Adelaide that I tried on, he said, I'll get one made for you. And my autism was like, no, it has to be this one, Louis. I don't know why. I've just connected with that saddle. I'd need that one. And Voltaire Design were so amazing and let me have that one.
Oh, wow.
Instead of having one made.
Yeah.
And it's been an absolute game changer because they're so lightweight. They're really adjustable, and my saddle has been on 11 or 12 horses, obviously like with different numbers and half pads.
Yes, yeah.
But they've just gone incredibly well in it. And for me, I get a lot of pins and needles in my right side. So the saddle is really important.
Yes.
And then alongside that, I'm extremely lucky because I think being autistic and being funny about textures and things like that, you sort of really want the best comfort for the horses, the softest.
Yes.
So I'm sponsored as well by Finesse Bridles through Zebra Products.
Okay.
And they've made a huge difference to all my horses. They're absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's another part of my journey.
Yeah, it is. And it's exactly as you say, it's the support network with I think with anyone in the equestrian industry, whatever your angle is, there's such a big emphasis and need for the support.
Yeah, the support team, like take away my health, so putting that to one side at the minute, that I need a support team around me for that, because I can have good days and really bad days. But again, like on the sponsor side, without the sponsors, it just, wouldn't be possible. Radiance Gold are another fabulous sponsor, because I'm a naturopath now, because of my experiences with pharmaceutical meds, and also like how severe, if I like walk into a supermarket and they've been cleaning with something, I can breathe in and I lose all feeling in my right side. It triggers a hemiplegic migraine. It's that serious. So like the products that I use on my horses, one, I want them to be natural for my horses, but also for me to be able to touch, because if I get something on my skin that my body doesn't like, it triggers anaphylaxis.
Yes, yeah.
So I use Radiance Gold on all my horses.
So what is that? Sorry, is that like a type of product?
It's a gut balancer,
okay.
and they do different products for like mares. They also do a sarcoid thing as well that's completely natural. But it really soothes the gut, and it's just been incredible. And what I've noticed with my horses since I've been feeding Radiance Gold is I can cut back on the other hard feed, because the absorption is so much better. But I feed all my horses Saracens. I am supported by Saracens, which have been absolutely fabulous, because having 4 such different horses with such different needs. My DiMaggio mare gets fed the Relieve mix, as does my stallion. And yeah, that's been incredible, and the support that I've had from them as well. And then I think something I would like to get out there for people, again on my naturopath train, is I can't take any painkillers. I can't even take paracetamol. And fibromyalgia and functional neurological disorder can be really painful. So there's some days where I can wake up really, really stiff and think, oh, how am I going to get through the day? I'm very, very lucky to have trialed a Centropix PEMA rug for the horses and myself. So it's an updated version of PEMF. And so it's pulsed electromagnetic. So basically, in layman's terms, you sit on the mat and it stimulates 99% of the cells in your body.
Right. Okay.
So everybody's reaction to it is different. You don't feel anything when you're sitting on it. But for example, a gentleman used it that had arthritis in his feet, and because it improves circulation and it helps the cells get rid and detox the stuff that you don't want in your body.
Yes.
It's super effective. And for me, I carry very, very high cortisol and adrenaline levels and estrogen levels. I had a hysterectomy 5 years ago because of estrogen dominance.
Wow.
With no ovaries, I'm still estrogen dominant.
Wow.
My hypothalamus and my adrenals overproduce estrogen. And that's part of what contributed to the stroke as well, along with the high cortisol levels. So since I've been using the Centropix PEMA twice a day, my pain levels have significantly reduced. And, not everyone's going to have the same journey, but I've also lost 1 stone 4 in weight because I carried a lot of visceral fat around my stomach, which is my body's way of trying to protect my organs against all the pharmaceuticals. Right. So since the PEMA that's been stimulating the cells, they've finally felt that they can detox and get rid of that. So whilst that journey hasn't been particularly pleasant, it's been a very worthwhile one. And, if anybody's looking for natural pain relief, I would definitely get have a look at that.
I'm right in thinking from your socials, this PEMA, this is a relatively new thing to you, isn't it? It's not.
It is, yeah. I got it at. I met Carol at what was the event in Birmingham?
Was it the National Equestrian show?
Yes, yeah. So I've only had it since then. So the results I've had have been very quick with it.
Mm-hmm.
And my horses have also had great results. The professionals that come and treat them, like their massage person and the farrier, especially on my stallion, have noticed how much freer he is in his back end.
Right, okay.
And also my marks have gone up as well in the dressage arena, which is always a good thing.
It's good. It means everything's nice and comfortable for everyone.
Yeah. So it's certainly been a journey.
Yeah, it certainly has. And so with all of that, there's obviously must have come some challenges, not just the challenges of your health, but with the health challenges, probably some mental health challenges, understanding how your body's changing, how you've had to adjust, and that's why you got into the horses. But can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think the equestrian space, although it's not massively spoken about, there's a huge mental health thing going on within it, and we're all keeping quiet about it.
I think, I'm not embarrassed to speak about my mental health, because I think if anybody can take any inspiration, just one person, it's worth it. And as I said, after my stroke, I just felt completely useless, worthless. A lot of my qualifications, like the handcuff staff, the control and restraint and things like that, really were sort of useless. And I think the biggest thing was having to have somebody with me sort of traveling about as well.
Yeah.
And it made me feel like I wasn't any good to anybody. And obviously, because of the weight that went on with the visceral fat from the pharmaceutical meds, that was a massive one. And I know it's a big thing about weight and riders and things like that. And I was just like at my wit's end, really. And obviously, because I was so fit before my health conditions, relatively, I was very lucky when I saw the neurology consultant. He's like, well, you're still really strong for a female on your right side. But to me, I wasn't. Maybe to other people across the board, I was. But and I think the horses saved me in a way. Well, the stallion saved me, actually, because I wouldn't ever say that I felt properly suicidal. But before I went to Malta, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? I've got a beautiful daughter, and obviously she's my inspiration to keep going. But I'd always been such an active, physical person. And it was like the thought of not being able to sort of have a roll about, like training in the cage and things like that. Because I do have to be careful on my right side, because obviously my nerve endings are damaged. So the horses were the thing that pulled me through. And it isn't actually the competing and winning. That is nice, don't get me wrong, and I'm super competitive. It's those moments like with Dizzy Rascal where you put the reins over her head and then she snuggles into you for a cuddle and things like that. You have a cuddle and a kiss before you put a bridle on. And the stallion, who has had a traumatic life in Italy before he went to Malta, his trust. And all the horses, all my 4 horses offer different parts of recovery. And also for my autism, I love routine.
Yes.
And the horses love routine.
Yes.
And, my young horse, Castle Surprise, when I get off him, I feel $1 million because he's so talented. And then the one that surprises everyone, and my mum, is Hank the Tank.
Yes.
The relationship I've built with him, he's a Welsh Section D. He's one of my world champions, as I say. And you just look at him, and again, I think I love him because it inspires people with cobs in dressage, because he's a Welsh Section D, and he's very naughty but very funny. And we've just built a bond that when he trusts you, he'll do anything for you. Right. But he is a bit of a nightmare with other people.
Fair enough.
So
I think it was Hank that was playing around in the field when I came to visit once, wasn't it?
It was Hank, yes. So actually the horses wholeheartedly is what has brought my mental health back up.
Yeah.
And when I have days where my people sort of, not a tolerance, but when the autism's sort of up, especially the PDA, because we've got PDA subtype, which makes it very difficult. It's pathological demand avoidance.
Okay.
So that's quite a confusing one for people, because people are like, well, do you go against your trainers? And it's like, if I like somebody and I'm settled with them, I'll do anything. And my trainers have always said that I'm really nice to teach. But then it can be one of those things where you just look at somebody for no reason, just think, I don't like you.
Fair enough.
And it's like learning to cope with that as well, and like laughing it off.
Yeah.
An example that I always use, and I actually said to your producer before you came.
Oh, yes.
I was parked in Co-op car park once, and there was a chap over the other side of the car park that was wearing chinos, and I looked at him and I thought, you're a weirdo. but there was no reason for it.
Okay.
And I think before my diagnosis, people just thought I was quite obnoxious and difficult. But I think since the diagnosis, I understand what it is.
Yes.
I just think, oh, it's my nervous system having a moment, and I just ignore it.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, at least you can acknowledge it now, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it makes it'd be nice to sort of get more awareness of autism and the PDA subtype out there, and it's quite hard to get that awareness out there.
No, I can imagine. It's everyone does it in their own way as well, and it seems to me that every case is quite different in their own ways.
It is. It's unique to everybody. You see, mine is made a little bit worse by the hormone imbalances, like the estrogen dominance and the high level of cortisol. But people are very different with it, and so it's certainly not a one size fits all. And I think it's made me a little bit more like, well, if I see somebody out and about and maybe they are a bit sharp or they are a little bit off, you don't automatically jump to the conclusion that they're rude.
Yeah.
So, but it's like trying to get that awareness, and not saying that autism, that is an excuse for bad behavior, because it's not. You need to learn like what your triggers are, and to a degree stay away from them. You can't stay away from all of them, but like I wouldn't go out on a bank holiday anywhere because I don't like lots of people. I don't like crowds.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's just one example, but it'd be lovely, especially in the equestrian world, to sort of raise awareness about how good horses are as well, not just for autism, but for mental health in general.
Yes. Yeah, I hear that time and time again. That'd be a good guest to get on actually at some point, someone who does that, specialises in that, because there are a few people out there.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
But now I'd love to go into the business of being a parrot rider and everything that it involves, because I know that you do a lot behind the scenes just to get yourself prepared for all your competitions.
Yeah, again, it comes to the sponsors again as well. And obviously this is where you're such a key role in my preparation. I'm so blessed to have one of your lawyers based with me, and it's made such a difference to me. Because I left the competition yard I was based at for 2 years that had on-site competitions, because I wanted a smaller yard based with my owners, Jan and Al. And that's helped me so much, again, with my autism and the routine. I can sort of do what I want. But obviously it left me without being able to get to competitions.
Yes.
So obviously she's nicknamed Lara, the market raisin box.
Lara the horse box.
Yes, having Lara based with me has just been fantastic, because we're in the process of having a school built at the new yard. So I've got a friend 5 minutes down the road that has a school. She's lovely. But I can just box up if I want or hack down. So I wanted to say on this podcast, big thank you to you, George, because
thank you.
You've been an absolute life changer. And I think when you have sponsors, for me, it's very important that it's 2 ways. Not obviously like just with what we do with Fonture, but with all my sponsors. It's very important that their products do get out there, and it's very important that it's not just the rider taking, what's offered. So I try and do what I can, to bring in new customers. And obviously what we've got with Fonture, with it being rented out on the days that I don't use it.
Yeah.
I think as well that's given me a sense of self-worth back again, because as I said, unfortunately, with some of the health conditions I've got, when you can't work sort of full-time, that can sort of make you feel a bit like this is, not great. But, how I've got my life at the moment is I can do bits and pieces when and how that I'm able. And it's kind of just really all fell into place, really. And then I've been training with Becky Moody and Cherry Elvin, And that was quite a big pull when I decided to leave the competition yard, and my trainer there that I've been with for 2 years. That was very difficult to bond with another trainer. And I must say, both Becky and Cherry are absolutely amazing. And and I just feel like I'm really lucky because obviously you've got Becky that's an international Olympic rider, and then you've got Cherry that's a high listed judge. So
Yes.
I just feel incredibly grateful to everyone and everything, and all my support team behind the scenes as well.
And I'm sure I speak on behalf of everyone, because I know how much you do for some of those sponsors. I see it and I hear it. And myself, you definitely go above and beyond.
I just think it's important because, you know, when people are helping you, you know, it's nice to be able to give back. And it's like, you know, we had an example with the Fonchor with Lara the other day that I went and competed at Sheepgate in the morning, but then there was a lady locally that desperately needed to get her horse to the vets and things like that. So I got back, got it jet washed, and then delivered it to her.
Yeah.
And it's great having Jan and Al because they're drivers as well. And, you know, I think it's just because I haven't got the pressure of having to do it all on my own. I can relax a little bit and not worry if I have a bad day or two because I've got the support. But then equally when I'm okay, I do try and help others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think as a professional rider, though, just going back to the actual riding side of it, you very much take on all of the advice. So you're having lessons with people like Becky, which is absolutely amazing. I've seen Becky teach, and she's
great,
class. I've not had a lesson with her. I think she'd absolutely destroy me. But also people like Curzon, because you've also been doing a lot of work on you as your body, your suppleness, which is all part of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So what's that journey been like?
So again, obviously after the stroke, it's very debilitating thinking because, you know, I had strength and conditioning coaches like all the time in the cage and things like that. So I realised that I needed really specialist help, even more so than what the NHS can offer, unfortunately. You know, I'm not NHS bashing, but had I had the neurophysio that I needed after the stroke, I may not be quite have the deficit that I had. So I was a bit like, who do I reach out to? So I put a thing on Facebook and just said, is there any strength and conditioning coaches that can encompass somebody that's had a stroke, this, that, and the other? And then it was you actually that commented about Curzon.
Yeah.
And I must say, he's been an absolute game changer. He comes to Becky's to watch my lessons. And then we have 4 workouts a week on his app, which I am dedicated enough to do. You know, I think it's really important. I think one of the things that drives me is not just a fitness for myself, but to make sure that I'm the best version of what I can be for my horses, because the horses give so much. And this is where I was really struggling with my half passes, especially my right one, because where it feels like I'm sitting to the right, I'm actually not. And because of the lack of feeling, the 30% deficit I've got on my right side. So it's been a massively inspiring journey with Curzon, but I was quite lost before Curzon, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So since he's been on the scene, which was January we started.
Yes.
I say he comes to Becky's and watches my lessons so that he can adjust my program. He's adjusted it from when I started using the PEMA because that made me very tired because obviously my cells were working very hard from being on that. So he adjusted it to more stretching and mobility rather than strength building because I am quite tired from the PEMA at the minute. But then when that subsides, we'll go back to more strength. So somebody like Curzon is just amazing because I think actually your off the horse fitness is as if not more important than on the horse fitness.
I think for anyone that's listening, and we're mentioning Curzon, but I'm very aware we haven't really mentioned who he is. So Curzon is an equestrian fitness and
strength and conditioning coach.
Strength and conditioning coach. He has his own platform. He's got a school program where you can join, and
he's got an online thing as well.
Part of a community, and he does webinars and he does a lot of good work. So shout out for Curzon if you need a strength and conditioning coach. Curzon Hughes.
Yes, yeah, honestly. And again, encompassing the autism around that, it's not easy for me to sort of bond with a trainer. I did have one before, he was lovely. But with Curzon, I just feel super comfortable. And and I think because he's from a uni background as well, because he does something different. He teaches at a university, I think.
Yes.
He just seems to be able to sort of get on with everybody, which is really important.
Yeah, and he's got a great way of explaining and teaching.
Yeah.
I think naturally from what he does on his day job.
Yeah, absolutely. So he is an integral part, and if I get selected for the World Championships, he's going to come down for that.
Fantastic.
So,
and when will you know about that?
In June,
okay.
I think. Yeah, they're keeping us waiting. The Australian team has already been announced.
Okay.
But yeah, they're keeping us sort of waiting. It would be lovely, but as I said, the competing, yes, I love doing well, but I just think of everything that my horses have given me since I've come back. And, Dizzy Rascal is just amazing because not only is she a top international horse, she's got a son that's a Grand Prix horse now.
Right, wow.
And a friend's granddaughter who's 4 can lead her around, and, she's had beginners sit on her. And yeah, as I say, I just am so grateful for what all the horses have done for me.
No, I hear that, I do. And I think what I'd love to hear more about now, if you don't mind, is just talk to us a little bit. I know you've mentioned Virtuous and what it is, but I still feel like it's not well known in the space.
No, okay, so
how do we break it down so people can understand where Virtuous has come from and actually what it is?
Okay, so I'll start with Virtuous and then I'll explain Sports Excel UK. So Virtuous is the international governing bodies for intellectual impairment riders. So you have 3 categories. You have the II1, the II2, and the II3, which is my category. The II3 is riders with autism only.
Okay.
The other II categories, I'm not 100% sure, but it's different intellectual impairments. That's what II stands for.
Right, of course.
So Virtuous Sports don't just do equestrian. They cover the whole range of sports for intellectually impaired athletes, like tennis, skiing, table tennis. So it's basically a one-stop shop for all sports for intellectual impairment athletes.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that it is quite confusing. So that's them. And then our Great Britain part of Virtuous is Sports Excel UK.
Okay.
So when I went to Tracy at Sports Excel UK, she again is the British version of Virtuous. So she looks after all the sports, not just horses.
Yes.
So I think that's partly why the process does take so long. And Tracy herself isn't horsey, but what they're trying to do is integrate as part of British Dressage. So you've got Amanda Rogers, who is British Dressage, but she's also on the Sports Excel committee and the Virtuous Sports committee.
Okay.
So basically, the first thing you do is approach Tracy at Sports Excel UK, and Tracy will say, do you want to be a nationally classified rider, just where you do Great Britain competitions in England, or would you like to be an international rider, which is then where Virtuous Sports comes into it?
Of course.
So I said, I want to be international. So first of all, it took me, I think it was 6 to 9 months to go through Sports Excel UK. So for the II3s, which is the only one I can comment on because that's my classification.
Yes.
I sent my NHS autism diagnostic assessment in, which is like a 17-page assessment that's done by the assessor. That then gets approved by the Sports Excel committee.
Okay.
That was then when Tracy rang me and said, you're now nationally classified, get yourself to Hartbury for the National Winter Championships.
Yes.
But I was unable to compete in any Virtuous classes until Virtuous had internationally overstamped my classification.
Yeah.
So that I then got in October last year. So that's how I was able to do the October World Championship video competition.
Okay, yeah.
So without the overstamp from Virtuous, you can't compete internationally.
Understood. Right, okay.
So for anybody out there that's wanting to, your first port of call is look at the Sports Excel UK website.
Yeah.
Go through Tracy at Sports Excel UK. Once it's stamped nationally, she then sends your application to Virtuous. Right. So it's all done through Sports Excel UK.
Fantastic.
And then what you'll find is that the British Dressage Summer and Winter Para Championships, they hold the Virtuous classes.
Of course, okay.
So what would be nice to see in the future would be virtuous classes at like a para CDI and things like that.
Yes.
Because obviously the video comps give a lot more countries chance to compete with an FEI 5-star judge. So the video competitions are really good. And obviously being autistic, it is nice because you don't have to go so many places. But it is also lovely to have the in-person competitions as well.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
So it's a developing thing, really.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. And my naivety here is the question that I've got in my head is, obviously we've got is it PCDI? Is that how they abbreviate it?
Yeah.
Which is the International Para Dressage.
Through British Dressage.
Yeah, through British Dressage. Do they not encompass some of these things then?
They are going to. That's what Amanda Rogers is working really hard on, is to get the intellectual impairment paras, so we'll call us the virtuous paras at the minute, into more of the fold of the BD competitions. Because like I say, at the moment, they hold the virtuous classes at the Summer and Winter Para Championships.
Yes.
BD Championships.
Yeah.
So Hartbury was the summer ones and Arena UK was the winter ones.
Okay.
But it's just about bringing it into that and running the virtuous paras alongside the British Dressage paras.
Okay. So it's fair to say that the current British Dressage paras are all due to physical impairments. Right, okay.
So, you see, I could look at going down the route of getting classed as a BD para with my right side.
Of course.
Issues. But the problem that I've got at the moment, or British Dressage have got, is determining the actual deficit on my right side. Because when I went for nerve testing, it was so painful that I couldn't continue the procedure.
Right, okay.
So it might be in the future that I do go as a grade 4 British Dressage para as well.
Right.
But at the moment, I'm just sticking with the virtuous stuff.
Yeah, which is going really well.
Yeah.
So. That's going very well. No, that's great. There's so much in there. I think it's inspirational for people to hear your story, because I think also what you're sort of demonstrating as well is you can have several lives within a life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think people get so stuck on the moment sometimes, whether it's in equestrian specific, whether it's their sport, whether, and they've had an injury and they can't necessarily do what they need to do, but there's still something,
Yeah, and I think if there's one thing I can get over on this podcast, then that's what I want it to be, because I've been there where I've thought, what the hell am I going to do? Thousands of pounds worth of training within the security industry and the handcuffing and this and that and the other, and then it's all sort of like seems to be for nothing.
Yes.
And I think sometimes, this might sound a bit hippie, but you have to like trust in the universe and just think, well, what will be, because if you told me in 2020 that I'll be back with horses competing, I'll be like, absolutely no, I'm not interested at all.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think in a way you just have to run with life a bit like a river, isn't it? You just have to like let it flow.
Keeps flowing and you get the odd blockage or the obstacle, but at the end of the day it does keep flowing.
Yeah, and you know what, actually, of course I'd rather have not have had a stroke and all my health issues, but I'm actually really happy where I am, and I say very grateful to my support team, all my sponsors and the horses. And if this can give inspiration, because it was only yesterday on Facebook, I saw something where a lady, I think it was an anonymous lady, was saying how much pain she's in and, she's struggling and this, that and the other. And I could really identify with that. And whilst a lot of people can take pharmaceutical meds and they are helpful, they do have side effects and can cause other issues, especially with liver and kidneys and things like that. And, I think a passion of mine moving forwards is to promote the natural pathway, and, get it out there to people. That's where the Centrepix PEMA is a massive fascination and, something I would love to get out there and also get it more affordable for people. Because at the minute, my sponsors are renting a PEMA. There's a big one for the horses, a PEMA rug with a big mat in it and then a small mat for people.
Okay.
But the pair to buy are nearly £6,000.
Right.
Which is a hell of a lot of money.
Yes.
But we are looking into ways to making that a lot more affordable. And there are talks at the minute of, because there's import tax and things like that, which makes it quite challenging. So, moving forward, that's one of my passions, is sort of more of a natural pathway for people that want to go down it, really, for pain relief.
Yeah. I think it's really inspirational how seriously you take that as well. And again, it's not just for you, it's actually for your horses, it's for the whole picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, say lidocaine infusion nearly killed me, resting heart rate of over 200. And, and to be at the point where I can't even take paracetamol is, can be quite stressful. But I've also had the guidance of an Ayurvedic doctor and lots of naturopaths. So, I'm quite, that's moving forward as part of my journey. That's what I'd like to really help others with.
Fantastic. So in the next year, 3 or 5 years, where are you heading?
So I would love to be selected for the Worlds. And I think obviously keep competing with the horses that I've got. But I would really like to see myself sort of from the more naturopathic side with the horses as well. So, aligning with more companies of the naturopathic tendencies and things like that.
Yes, yeah.
And I'd really love, say we're working on finding an investor to get the Pema rugs over a lot cheaper. They are medical, they are licensed or classified as medical, I think, in America or in some countries. So, I think my naturopath journey alongside also mental health therapy with horses.
Yes.
So, that's, again, see where life goes with that, really.
Yeah, fair enough. And if you're going to give anyone some advice, perhaps a few words, where they are experiencing a big challenge and they really don't know what to do, but they're in the equestrian world, which is why they're probably listening to us. What would you say to them today?
Do your research. Research maybe things that you wouldn't consider researching. Try and reach out to companies and people that align with your morals and beliefs. I think that's a big thing. It's not a one size fits all. Not everyone's going to love the same things. Life would be boring if that was the way.
Yeah.
And I think first and foremost, looking inside yourself and say, what do I really want? What do I want to achieve and why do I want to do this? And if you nurture yourself, then you tend to find that you get drawn to the right people. Yes,
I relate to that. No, I like that. That's great. Well, I think that's actually coming to the end.
Well, thanks.
That's been it's been good, but no, it's been really inspirational to hear your journey, and I'm sure everyone at home will be feeling the same.
Well, if you can just inspire one person, and help them on their journey, then it's been worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anyone wanted to get hold of you because of anything that you said today, could they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite happy, if they want to contact you, I'm quite happy for you to give out my phone number and email address. I say anything I can do to help anyone.
Yeah, and you're on Facebook and things like that?
Yes, I'm on Facebook, Danielle Curzon. It's a profile with horses, obviously. I am on TikTok and Insta. I'm Curzon Danielle.
Okay.
But people can probably find me through Fonture as well.
Yes, true. On the Fonture page. Well, no, it's brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much.
Oh, thank you.
And I wish you good luck with your onward journey with your power riding.
Thank you.
And looking forward to seeing all about it.
Yes, and thank you for Lara the lorry.
Anytime, thank you.